I'll give you another egregious one that's actually unforgivable because it cost Tom Brady another Super Bowl. That Philly play was an illegal formation that they just ignored.
Right. They probably would have gotten a field goal, though, on that drive, too, so we don't know how the game would have ended up because they were a chip shot field goal range regardless. They lost by 8. So, but again, there's also 2-point conversions. There were other factors within that game.
Right, but there was other thing. Right, there was other things going on because they lost by 8 because they got another field goal because of the Tom Brady the fumble at the end of the game. They sealed it. Right.
So that's what I'm saying. We don't know how it would have ended up.
That game would have been with. And by the way, another touchdown. There was a Eagles receiver that landed out of bounds that they still called a touchdown.
Well, there was different replays that showed 2 different things. So I think that one was too tough to overturn in that one.
Well, that's fine, but how do you ignore an illegal formation?
I agree with that, but again, like I said, it probably.
Carl's saying that Calvin Johnson no touchdown catch.
Right, which was the first one of those big no catch controversies. Again,
this is the whole thing. That was another one of those didn't survive the ground things.
Right, that was the beginning of that whole phase where they really started nitpicking at that rule, and that's why the Des Bryant one didn't get called the same way. You have to call it the same way. So that's why his wasn't a catch. Calvin Johnson was the first one, which was actually probably the most impressive non-catch, one of the more impressive non-catches you'll see. And Calvin Johnson,
but easily the worst one was the Saints one. That Rams Saints game. That's easily one of the most egregious things I've ever seen because they could have just need the football to run the clock down and kicked. Would that have even been a 25-yard field goal? They would have.
They were at the 2-yard line. They were at the 2-yard line. That play, there was one more before the 2-minute warning, too, and then the Rams had one timeout, so they could have stopped it twice, or they could have let him score, too. But if you let him score, then you have to score a touchdown rather than getting the field goal.
While we're talking about Patriots Super Bowls, what about Pete Carroll deciding not to just run the ball in the end zone?
That was an outrageous call, too. I remember that, too.
First of all, that has nothing to do with the refs. That's what you were talking about.
He said plays. I didn't know we were talking about refs.
Yeah, well, we're also talking about the outrageous calls.
And honestly, that's not as bad of a call as people are trying to make it seem, because you got to remember they only had one timeout left, right? They had spent a foolish timeout earlier.
You're at the goal line,
right?
Now, if you don't get it in, you can run the ball back,
right? But so here's the problem you had, Tyler. There was only 30 seconds left in the game, and you only have one timeout. So if you run the ball. There was no time, Tyler.
There was, I think, 17 seconds. So they had the one timeout.
Right.
Now,
so it's second down, and you only have one timeout. So Pete Carroll's going, fine, we'll throw the ball, and if it's incomplete, the clock stops, and that way we can try to run it on third, and if we don't get in, call a timeout, and still have another play.
Here's the bigger problem with that. Yes, that logic is true, but why not against a goal line defense, though, call an outside play to extend to Russell Wilson or like a screen pass or something like that?
Roll out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like something outside that a goal line defense is mostly crowding the middle anyway. Why are you throwing a slant pass? I think is even the bigger problem with that. If you're going to even just roll a pass play, do a rollout, do a tight end out route, a quick out, a zigzag, something like that.
How about
you can argue a different play call, but a pass is still a pass, and that's the pass they chose. So he was literally choosing a pass, going, well, if it's incomplete, then. It is what it is.
Threw it in the middle of the field.
Right, you're throwing it against a goal line
That's
defense.
really dumb.
Right, but you don't understand. Go back to that play. He was open when Russell Wilson was doing that. You have to go and
Malcolm Butler baited him in there.
But still, a slant pass against a goal line defense is not ideal.
Malcolm Butler literally said, I knew the play. We practiced it all week in practice. There was the one play we knew in that situation they were going to run, and he had a beeline on the ball.
Right, because
he
if you go
baited Russell Wilson in.
Right, because if you go and watch the Patriots documentary, it wasn't even all week. They were running that play and doing that exact same package in training camp because Ernie Adams, that freaking genius, knew their tendencies because Pete Carroll loves that play. So, okay, they studied their tendencies and said, oh, that's the play they like to run. Let's practice it. Yeah, that's how they knew it.
Which is fair that it still doesn't make it a high percentage play in terms of a goal line defense versus a slant pass.
No, if anything, he's hurting his own point.
Exactly. I'm thinking
it was a high percentage play, right? There were, I forget what the exact number was because it was there was something like 200 and something plays run that year from the 1 yard line, right? 200 and something pass plays, right? Do you know how many were intercepted? Just that one. So, yeah, it is a high percentage play because you don't think anyone's going to intercept you from.
I'm not saying for an
that
interception,
distance.
though. I'm saying for the success rate in terms of it being an incompletion.
But it is a successful play. It is. It's a quick slant. Those are some of the most successful plays that there are. So it's a high percentage play that also doesn't take a lot of time off the clock.
Okay.
You're talking about, I want to do a play action and roll some dude out. Well, you only got 17 seconds, bro, hand.
All right, so if you no one's open, throw it away. That only takes 3 seconds off the clock. That's still not a big deal. It's second.
Sorry, no. Any NFL play, especially when you're rolling out, that's an 8-second play.
But let me ask you this:
on the goal line, no, not on the
Let
goal
me ask
line.
you
Yeah.
this. Hold
No.
on. Seriously, let's look at this. Right? You say there's a timeout left, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, they only had one, right?
Okay. So you're clearly at that point not thinking, let's give Tom Brady the ball back. Okay? So why don't you run the ball, even if you get stuffed, right? 'Cause I'm not saying Marshawn Lynch definitely gets in. Let's say you run the ball and get stuffed, right?
Okay.
You're immediately calling the timeout,
Right.
obviously. Why
Right,
not
which makes
then
third
throw the
down
pass?
An automatic pass play.
Carl thinks
which makes
Speedy
the
is
third
wrong,
down
by
a
the
pass
way.
play.
Sure. But like you said, it's a high percentage play then, right? And if anything, you're closer to it. So maybe you don't even throw it in the middle. Maybe you throw it all the way
Listen,
outside.
Hold on. No. See, you're going always in the positive, right? Because you're going, you'll get it from closer. What's to say Dante Hightower doesn't shuck a blocker and hit him at the 4? And you're going
Opens
backwards.
up the field then.
Not from that distance. Nothing opens up the field from that distance.
No,
you're
but
still so close.
If you're 4 yards back, right? Because let's say now you're right. Let's say that botched a snap and they go back to the 4 or the 5 yard line. Now the Patriots can't put 10 guys in the box. They got to have.
Sure, they can.
Well, I wouldn't do that. But anyway.
Those receivers weren't great at that time. They probably could have.
But my point being, one guy gets open, Wilson finds him, that Super Bowl's over.
Right, but this is what you're doing, right? Is you're saying, what a horrible call. But regardless of, you don't like that pass play. You don't like it. But they had to have a pass in there because that's exactly what you're doing.
I
You're
agree with you.
preferring
There
they
should have
run
been a
on
pass
second
play in
and
it.
throw on third. But Pete Carroll was like, screw it. We got to have a pass play. Let's throw it here, save the timeout, and we'll have Marshawn run it twice when it's incomplete. No one had threw an interception at that point from the 1. Right? No one had.
Correct me if I'm wrong,
So,
right? But it was not a field goal game, right?
No,
I think they were down 4.
It was a 4. It was
right.
28-24.
So even if you can't sell for the field goal, so why are you playing as if you need 4 downs? You get 4 downs here. You don't get it in, you lose.
Right, which is also why
if
I'm
you
not
really want to be specific, Russell Wilson should have put his head down and ran.
Which is also why I think the time
he's
isn't as
too much
big of
of
a
a girl.
factor anyway.
No,
where
that's not true.
If you do call an outside passing play, I'm not saying to roll out for 8 seconds like you're saying, Jeff.
I would have
but
given it to Marshawn Lynch.
At least to do a design rollout play that maybe takes 4 seconds. It's not 7 seconds left. It's one
let's
play.
say Jeff is even right, and you don't want to risk the handoff getting screwed up and going 4 yards back. Wilson puts his head down and jumps.
but
You're at least at the goal line.
Right, but here's the difference, Tyler. You're still admitting that in that whole scenario, because you had the first down is gone. We're working with 3 downs here, second, third,
Right.
and fourth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
So you're still conceding that there, in any scenario where you get stopped, there still has to be a pass involved in those last 3 downs. Because
But you don't
have
even
time
know
to,
that?
You don't,
Because what if your 2 rushes before that literally put you within a cough of the end zone? You're
you don't have a
literally
timeout left.
because you can't take the chance. Because what if somebody because it's part of the rules. What if one of your offensive linemen gets hurt? If it's 2 rushes and it's on the second one, you get stopped the first time, they call the timeout, and then you get stopped the second time. Guess what? 10-second runoff, game over.
Yeah.
You don't even get a 4th down.
Also factor in the fact that if you get stuffed twice, you're going to have to spike the ball on one of those downs too. So odds are you're not going to run it on 3rd down.
Right. So you can't spike it, and you only have 1 timeout in one of those
Carl,
3
see you
downs.
next week, bud. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, so
all I'm saying
Jeff's
is
right in that sequence where there has to be at least 1 pass play.
There has to be at least one pass in there.
Save it
So
for
they
your
chose
last
second down to run it up.
gasp.
I agree on that. I'm more nitpicking at the fact that it was a slant route against a goal line defense.
Right, but it doesn't matter if you don't
And not for
call it
nothing,
whatever. There had
you're
to be a
crazy
pass
too.
in there.
Because Doug Baldwin, at that time, was a good wide
was a
receiver.
breakthrough receiver. He wasn't great.
Stop it.
He was
Stop
great.
it.
Right, but it doesn't
Stop it
matter.
now.
That was
Even
his-
in that
stop it. He was a
scenario,
rookie.
there has to be
4
there
years,
has to
Doug
be a
Baldwin
pass
was
play
good.
in one of those downs in that scenario.
I get it. I agree with you. Maybe
Right,
you.
so he
but
chose second down to pass on. It just is what it is, dude.
I don't know. It cost him a Super Bowl, and
It's not.
and
Well,
cost
first of
him a
all I was
dynasty.
saying was
He
it
lost
wasn't
the
as
team
bad
because
of
of it.
Right, but hold on. All I
That's
was
what's
saying
really
to you
traumatic
was,
about it.
all I'm saying to you was it wasn't as bad of a logic as people make it out to be. They're like, oh, that's the world's worst call. Not when you look at the game scenario, because there had to be a pass in that sequence. Just so happened it was second down. Because if you run the ball and don't get in, you're wasting your timeout. Then the whole world knows you're throwing it on third down because you can't risk another run because the clock will run out on you.
And now, the funny part is people forget about the fact that their insane Ricardo Lockett catch before that that play.
That catch was freaking amazing.
Amazing.
Edelman's
It's always going to be forgotten.
Edelman has the greatest catch. That catch on the sidelines, the second
It's
greatest
the
catch.
luckiest.
That thing,
Dude,
and that was perfect coverage by Malcolm Butler. Perfect.
You know what's hilarious? The two luckiest catches in Super Bowl history both come against the Patriots. What's luckier, the Ricardo Lockett catch or the David Tyree bubblegum stuck to the helmet thing?
Tyrese, because Rodney Harrison's one strong mother effer, and he knocks that ball out 9 out of 10
Think
times.
about how crazy those two catches are, and they're both against the Patriots. Like, the Patriots have horrible luck coming down.
I think in terms of the
Unless
actual
the Jewish guy catches it, because then the Jewish guy catches it.
Jeff, I think of the actual catch, it's probably the Lockett one. In terms of the whole play, it was definitely Tyree because remember Eli Manning also had to escape Jarvis
Ninkovich
Green
had him.
too,
Ninkovich had him, too, and got
Jarvis
away.
Green too. Both of them had him, and Eli was able to somehow escape. We know Eli Manning's not the
crazy.
He's lucky
biggest
he didn't
escape
get.
artist.
He's lucky he didn't get called down.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
He's
that was
really
that
lucky
was
he
very
didn't get
close.
blown.
But
He would have been down if his shirt hadn't ripped. Dude. That's how he got away. His undershirt.
Do you guys remember roughing the passer with the Patriots and the Chiefs in the AFC title game,
Yes.
which cost
Yeah,
the
that
And
was
Chris
really
Jones
bad,
went
too.
offsides.
Right. No, that was D Ford.
No, it was.
Hold on.
Chris Jones got the
give
roughing
you
the passer, though.
Hold on. I'll give you the roughing the passer because he just brushed his helmet and that's
Right.
weak.
Exactly.
Tyler, you bring up that offsides one more time. Dude, he was offsides. He lined up offsides very clearly. You cannot like it because you don't like the Patriots or people don't like the Patriots.
What?
But rules
I
are
love
still
the
rules. He was offsides.
I defended
That
the
offside-
Patriots more than anyone else.
Whatever, but that's not one of the horrible calls of all time.
No,
That's
it's a
correct
horrible,
call.
stupid play that cost him a Super Bowl visit
Yeah.
and got
Probably.
him traded.
Yeah, he also got a big contract off of that too, though.
Well,
Yeah, the contract is what got him traded.
But
I don't know.
that was a call
They're gonna
that
pay Frank
cost
Clark.
the Chiefs for going into the Super
That's
Bowl.
right. Yeah, that was egregious.
Right,
like
but
that.
but those aren't agreed. That's not an egregious call because there's video of them lined up off sides. Like the Saints.
No, I
Rams
think Errol's
pass
referring to the
interference
Chris
thing.
Jones.
I'm talking about the roughing the passer.
Yeah.
Which caught, with the Tom Brady where I don't know if you remember it. It was the AFC
Well,
title
fine
game.
then. I guess it evens out, right? Because
Yeah.
we got the Philly play, and the Patriots should have won that one. God damn it!
But again, the
Illegal
time of the game, the
formation.
situation.
I'm
still
just
is
bringing
different
up
with that.
outrageous calls that cost teams a chance to win a Super Bowl, and that
Nothing's worse than that Rams Saints thing. That thing's
Yes,
the worst thing
right.
I've ever seen.
For sure.
which they changed the rule and then they changed the rule back after that, which makes no sense.
Right.
It never made
It's
sense.
Roger Goodell.
Wow.
It makes perfect sense.
Well, who would have thought that out of all the commissioners, and I've said this over and over the last after the last 5 years, I would say Rob Manfred and Roger Goodell, you can argue, are the two, they go back and forth, are the two worst commissioners. And Gary Bettman, who everybody
still remember
hated,
in that conversation.
Gary Bettman has been the best commissioner in sports.
For
He
about
really has
8
been.
years.
He really has been, and that's
Yeah.
not saying much.
Right.
It's not saying
absolutely
much. I mean, Adam Silver.
For my money, I'll take
Adam
Goodell.
Silver, though, is becoming more like Rob Manfred than people think.
And Adam Silver is becoming a little bitch, when it comes to
And if we're
to the
including
players.
Dana White's up there, too.
Oh, Dana White is the
boxing
worst.
administration
He
should
is
be
the
up there,
worst. He is the worst. He doesn't pay his fighters.